Florida State's transfer portal additions had them in the hunt for the college football playoff, and it has been a miraculous turnaround.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It is going to be fun today because we're talking about Florida State's success. They hit big on the portal, in particular, Tommy Castellanos at quarterback. One could even argue that Tommy is the nation's number one portal addition. It's certainly one of the best. And the leadership overall of the guys they brought in has completely changed the roster, unlike last year. Why is that? I'm going to give my take on it and all the things going on with Florida State. And to add in a little bit, we'll talk about the poll a little bit too. But to do that, rock and roll. Jeremy Ivins, how you doing today, Jeremy?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, let's hit the ground running here. 23, you hit on the portal. 24 was an abject failure in every capacity, but from what I heard, I don't know what you did, the roster had some guys on it that came back that wanted more money. It was a money thing. Locker room wasn't necessarily right. Guys that didn't fit. And then, of course, the quarterback fit. They took the wrong guy. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but DJ Uiagalelei, that was not the right player to take. And it didn't work. This year, we'll get into Tommy in a minute, but Darryl comes back with the right attitude. He was loafing last year. Darryl Jackson's totally different, former transfer from Miami. And they also had guys come in that have kind of picked it up more and more. And some of those transfers have been here a little while, like Richie Leonard, et cetera. Now they're working out. In addition to the guys they brought in, like Jason Jenkins that are helping, Williams at defensive end. It's just been amazing. Earl Little is one of the best too. Why do you think it's so different in 2025 compared to 24? What's the deal?
Honestly, I think it starts at the top. I think Mike was upset about the snub last year and did not do his research like he had done before and this time. I honestly think so. I think he was at just give me a receiver, I'll make him great. Give me a running back, I'll make him great. Where before he did his homework in so many different ways. He even told me one time he used to go back, not just watch their college film, but their high school film too.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just get a full measurement. Like, how much more does this guy have to grow?
I think he got away from that going into last year.
That's a great perspective. Yeah. Jeremy, I'd never heard that. Thank you for that. It's interesting because obviously when you're trying to compete for a playoff bid, the timing, everything, they're trying to figure that out. There's no good fit for the portal, recruit, like everything coincides in December. It's a disaster. Yeah. There's no fitting, but because of the semester change, everybody ends in December. There's not a good way to do it. So there's always going to be problems with that. But when they got their heartstrings tugged and didn't get in after 23, there may have been some mourning that goes beyond, what we can absolutely understand. I'm not in his chair. Mm-hmm. I don't have the responsibilities of even somebody in the back office, let alone the head coach at any school like Florida State. So that's a great perspective. Well, let me ask you this. He's obviously learned from it. But does that still explain why they went with DJ? I don't think anybody can sell me on that was a good decision. He doesn't fit your offense. No, it's not perfect anyway. That's for sure. So what's your take on that?
That to me is a Derek Ray special. He had a relationship with the young man, and I think he sold Mike on him. And we weren't going to get Cam Ward.
That was a money thing.
That was a money thing, and at some point we weren't going to get him, so we had to make a decision. We didn't want to lose out on DJ, even though we were the only school he wanted to go to. So that's what I think, too. I think that was Derek Ray really sold Mike on that. And Mike was still mourning from the playoffs and said, he's a nice kid. We can make it work.
All right, I'm just going to leave it at that because, there's a lot of nice kids out there, but they're not putting a helmet on for the Noles and being behind center. So,
remember, he just got the new contract, so he probably felt a little more stability.
Oh yeah, well that's the worst thing to do. When you float, you go down.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's floating is going down. You got to continue to rise and make it.
I mean, you're upset about the playoff snub, and then That doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden, Alabama wants you to be their head coach.
Yeah, he had some distraction going on.
He had some distraction.
Alabama, I get it. It's Alabama, but that's
right. That's where the floating was. Look, I've made it in a way. I think last season was a wake-up call for him.
Let's talk about Tommy for a second. The one thing, and I covered him in high school when he was at Ware County in Waycross, Georgia. Like, he had a cannon. He could throw, roll into his left, put it on the money, etc., but then he'd miss a guy wide open. He was very inconsistent. Now, Tokars deserves credit for coaching him this year, but part of it's just the kid getting better over time. And Bill O'Brien coached him last year. I've not heard good things about him overall as a coach in terms of dealing with him and all that, but he knows quarterbacks. That's the one. He coached Tom Brady for one. That's kind of helpful. And the point is still very much the same. Maybe he was beneficial from running different systems, but at the end of the day, he's a running quarterback, and that threat has helped him down the field because guys are open. But, dude, he's putting it on the money like a National Football League quarterback that's going to the Pro Bowl. Are you as surprised as I am with the deep ball? Because, these are just money shots every time. It's crazy. What is the deal with that?
I mean, we knew he was going to have weapons this year that he hasn't had in his college career.
Sure.
I didn't realize Deuce was that fast down the field either.
I think he's gotten even faster since he came to FA.
Oh, absolutely. So I think it's with the weapons, and him and Gus Malzahn were meant to be the quarterback and OC together. There's a reason why he went to UCF now out of high school, because that offense fit him perfectly.
It absolutely did. I remember the year that I covered him when he was there. I mean, he was excited about it and all that, but they had another quarterback, and Tommy's not a very patient guy, so he left. BC was the wrong fit too, to be honest, but whatever. The point is he's finally got it where he's the guy, the right offense, and I think maturity-wise, like, he throws it away when he needs to. He will run when he needs to. He's happy to audible to a run.
Yep.
Or whatever. He's a team first guy now. Jeremy, you can't put a finite number on how important that is, because guys that go out there and try to play and be helter-skelter and just be, for me, try to make highlight reels for ESPN Sports Center lead-in, those are the guys that get you to 6-6.
Correct. And I think I have to give Florida State a lot of credit on this one part. Was he came here and they said, you're the guy. You're the number one guy. Take us to the promised land. I think if he had been in a quarterback battle and split the reps with the number ones,
that's hard.
That would have been hard. And then he would have come into the Bama game thinking I can get pulled at any moment. I get why you would do that sometimes, but like the fit for Gus's offense sold him. And I don't think he'd have come unless they'd have told him you're the guy. Because he had one, he had 1 year. I don't know if he's going to partition for the possibility for next year. That's a whole other subject we'll get into later this year. But I think he's a guy that, like, he's got to be in consideration for the Heisman. It's crazy. So when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about some of the different things that have been going on with Florida State in general, in terms of not just how Florida State has played this year, but like it's been crazy to me. It really has, in terms of their ability to kind of capture the national audience. They're in the top 10 now. Before this season, Jeremy, did you think they were going to be top 10 in any? No. Yeah. Beyond a handful of the players and coaches, maybe. I doubt very many did. So when we come back, we're going to talk about Florida State's meteoric rise. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by the Game Cap. If you've got the opportunity to go back and watch some Florida State Miami game, Florida State Clemson, Florida State against Florida, what hat would you like to be wearing inside a Doak? Yeah, I said hat. For me, it would be the Game. These aren't just hats. They are vintage styles that were used in the 80s and 90s. I know I had several, and guess what? You can still get them. And if you use code Locked On, you can get a vintage hat for $16.99 instead of spending $30 at the mall. That's thegamecaps.com, thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's classic logo and use code Locked On for exclusive discount, because legends wear the game. We are also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here now as well, and FanDuel is giving you a great chance to get in on the action. New customers that bet $5 and win, you get $300 in bonus bets
to use across the app. Whether you want to bet on MVPs, you want to dip into the player props, halftime scores, or anything else, FanDuel's got you covered. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app and visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And finally, my favorite out of these three, this one is about your local community. Have you been to a local place to get your lunch, to go to get coffee or something else? Square is partnering up with your local communities to help you out. So make sure you're checking it out. I like to go get coffee, go get breakfast, and work on different things in my local community. And if you're in Tallahassee, just as an example, there are a lot of different places that you can do it. The Bark, you can go to a lot of different spots that probably don't get recognized as much as they should, but they're in your local community. Florida State has got a really cool adjacent avenues for different places. It's not just in one spot either. Florida State has a lot of different places like that. And another one, the Bark, Newberry, Black Dog Cafe. Make sure you check them out and support them. And to be sure, you can go and check this out and get more information on it. If you want to, go to square.com/go/Locked On College. Square, we will see you in the neighborhood. Hanging out with Jeremy Ivins of Rock and Roll Podcast. Let's talk about Florida State's ascension into the top 10 in the AP poll. Recruiting's better. They killed it in the portal. At what point were you like, I think they might have dropped a spot. They're somewhere in that 7-8 range in the AP poll, and it doesn't matter this week. If they smash Virginia on Friday, I think there's a chance they're in the top 5.
Yeah.
They played 2 bad opponents and had a bye week in between. I get it. But if they play this game, what is it, 7:30 kick, I believe, Friday, if I remember right. But if they play well, I think it would be really cool if Doak welcomed in 2 football teams on October 4th that are both ranked in the top 5. Maybe Florida State's not. I don't know. It'll be close. But if they go to Virginia and win by double digits, I'm going to project them at number 6 or number 5. I think Miami wholeheartedly deserves to be in the top 5. I think they're the most consistent team in the country on the line of scrimmage. And quarterback play has been really good. Running backs are good, et cetera, et cetera. They don't have a ton of holes, to say the least. How important do you think it is for Florida State to get that exposure with both of them? Conservatively, they're going to be in the top 10 unless something shocking happens and Virginia knocks off FSU. I highly doubt that. Do you think this is the kind of the moment that Florida State needs, not only for the season, but to help them on the recruiting trail? Again, we've talked a lot in the past. They got to hit the home run more out of the high school ranks. I think I'll get into the visitor list for FSU next week. I'm sure it's going to take me a long time to get through it. It's going to be massive. What is your take on the overall vibe for the game and how important it is to Florida State?
It's everything. And now that they announced that it's a primetime game, they're going to want a top 5 matchup just for advertising and everything right there. And if you think about it, going into this year, Mike Norvell, we've only played meaningful football in September twice in his time at Florida State.
That's hilarious in a way.
Isn't that crazy? And then with Taggart before, we never did. And at the end with Jimbo, we didn't either. So meaningful football in September, October is everything.
Yeah.
It's great for the fan base. It's great for everything. It's huge. It's a top 5 matchup. Huge. People have been rooting for it. Ron DeSantis already did a tweet about it last night saying
that's awesome.
He wants Tallahassee to be electric. I don't care if game day comes or not personally. I don't expect them to come. But that being said, it's a huge matchup. College football was built on Florida State, Miami.
Yeah, that's kind of rivalries.
Virginia, because I don't think they're a bad team. Yeah, and we haven't seen this team play on the road yet.
I think that's part of building your character. To that point, I want to expand on that. Virginia can score. For those of you who don't know anything about them, they got Chandler Morris as a quarterback. He's a graduate student. His dad's a quarterback coach. His dad's in coaching. He's a guy that knows what it's like. He's one of those Texas high school quarterbacks that grew up and went through it. And he's a guy that has no fear. Like, they throw for 300 yards a game. They lost their best receiver to Notre Dame in the portal, Malachi Fields. He's a dude. And they're still throwing for like 300 a game. Florida State, this is why I brought it up the last few weeks. The number one concern I had, they played 2 crappy teams. How focused are you across the board? To be honest, just looking at this mathematically and logically, your effort should go up because you're playing a P4 opponent. You're playing a conference opponent,
Yep.
and it's your first road game. If all of those things don't get you with your juices flowing, then Florida State doesn't deserve to even come close to beating Miami after getting beat by Virginia. You have to be ready for these kinds of games. This is why you go to Florida State. When you walk in to play Virginia, they're going to be booing you and all that. Their fans will be probably shut up by the middle of the second quarter, is my guess, because I don't think they're that great, but they can score. I don't think they're going to be able to handle FSU's offense at all. Miami may be a different deal. We'll see. But if they don't come out just ready to rock, would you be shocked? Because I know I would be.
I 100% would be shocked, because just hearing Tony White in the press conference yesterday, he's already laser focused on Virginia. He's talking about what kind of test they are. And not to harp on Adam Fuller, because I know I've done that a few times, but I never heard him do that. I never heard him say, they have this offense. They pose this threat. We have to do this. He would always talk about his great big picture in the scheme of things. Yeah. So I think the culture of Tony has rubbed off. Even Jerry Wilson at the game the other day. I was wrong for what I did. Coach White got on me. It will never happen again. I'm so glad you brought up the focus they've had in the last two games. There's been no let up from Alabama. None.
Shocking, considering the next game was East Texas A&M. Like,
correct.
I didn't even know what that school was.
And then 2 weeks before another inferior opponent. That's easy time. Florida State in the past used to really let up against a quality opponent after a bye week. They didn't at all.
I agree.
So if they can keep, and I love, no one's talked about it, but some of the players have mentioned, I guess the motto for the team this year is each week they're playing for a championship. They're going for a championship each week. So that's great if they can keep that mentality of Virginia, we're going for the championship this week. We'll deal with the championship next week against Miami.
I'll be curious to see what Florida. This is my one curiosity point. I'll end it on this. I'll let you comment. Florida State, as I've had a bunch of people on the Locked On Seminoles YouTube page bring up in some capacity. Hey, we're being pretty generic here with play calls, both sides. And I said two things. Number one, on offense, Gus's most important plays is most generic, and that's inside zone. Everything is predicated on that. I can go on a diatribe for 30 minutes on it. But defensively, Tony runs a complex scheme. So the sub point here is he probably hasn't installed everything because he can't. You know, paralysis by analysis is never good. But secondarily, while coaches aren't going to admit it publicly, there is no way on God's green earth they've showed everything because they got Miami October 4th. I don't care if Tony in a private meeting told me that they've shown it. I know better. They're going to be saving some stuff. I wonder what they're going to show schematically on all 22 film against Virginia, because you got to be a little more diverse because it's a pretty good scheme. And they mix it up on where they throw it, and they got a guy that knows you're not going to just play cover 3 against them. He will pick you apart. How much do they blitz? Do they play more man? And what do they show Miami? Because Carson Beck is a better version of Chandler Morris with way better players and way better protection. I'm curious about that because, like, Florida State's probably not going to get much pressure against Miami with four down linemen. That's my biggest concern in the game, and it's probably the biggest reason that Miami could win. Their O-line might be the best in the country. It's legit. Can they come up with stuff that they haven't used in a game to get pressure but not show it against Virginia? It's the catch-22. You like to practice it, but you don't want Miami to see it. Do you think they'll be more aggressive and show some blitzes, or are they going to hold it for UM?
I'd love to say hold it for UM. I don't think Tony White's that kind of guy. And you know him better than me. Tony is a no-nonsense, I'm coming after you every game, no matter what. They ran a blitz early on against East Texas A&M that led to a sack. I was surprised they used it there. I just don't think Tony operates that way. And I was in Nebraska over the weekend, and I can count on more than 2 hands how many times people came up to me seeing my Florida State hat about Tony. And
yeah, because he left there. That's right. That's
because he left there, and they brought up, we miss him, and you are so lucky to have him. And every week we knew, couldn't count, maybe not sure about the offense, but we knew with him we were going to be in every game. And I said, man, I thought that, but to hear it made me feel better. So to answer your question, I think he's going to bring it this week, and he wants to prove a point. First conference game. That's a big deal.
He might bring out something, I guess, for Virginia and still save something for the Miami game. There's ways you can do it, but yeah. I hope he saves his best for UM and he's just confident in it. Whatever the blitz package is or coverage or both, that they can get it done. It's one thing to do in practice. It's another to see it live.
Yeah. And he doesn't get rattled, Tony.
Yeah, he's a pretty calm guy, really. He is.
That Alabama game to start, I think the first 2 drives when he was able to make those adjustments against Bama, and they had no answer for that. Now, I understand it's first game, and we had some stuff up our sleeve they weren't ready for. Miami will have more film on us. But I like that. He made those right. I mean, third series, he changed everything.
I agree.
And I loved it. I love Tony Whitt.
Same here. Yeah. All right, Jeremy, tell everybody where they can find your work, my friend.
Oh, first of all, thanks for having me on again. Always a pleasure talking to you. Rockin' Noles channel on the YouTube. I'll be doing more live streams. Brian's going to come back on. I went to Tennessee, Georgia, vlogged that game. Went to Nebraska, Michigan over the weekend, vlogged that game to give Nole fans perspectives on other games. At every game, people came up to me asking me about the Bama game, and that if they weren't watching us before, they said Gus Malzahn and Tommy Castellanos is must-see TV, and we make a point to watch your games now. So
absolutely.
I got a lot of that over the last 2 weeks. So thank you, Rockin' Nole channel. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You can check out Locked On Seminoles whenever you download it. Podbean, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you go. And, of course, on YouTube. We will see you again soon.